In a world where weakness is exploited, where good intentions are trampled, and where the appearance of strength often outweighs true strength, most people wander powerless, wondering why they are ignored, disrespected, or crushed. But Machiavelli understood the solution. To rise above fragility and become the strongest version of yourself through principles that do not bend with time. Before you can command the world outside you, you must first conquer the battlefield within. This is the first principle of becoming the strongest version of yourself. Too many men think strength begins with muscle, with wealth, or with social approval. They polish the surface, but leave the foundations cracked. And like a castle with weak walls, when the storm arrives, they collapse. If you wish to be untouchable, if you wish to become a force that others cannot sway, you must build your fortress in the mind before you even consider the body. For the body follows the mind, and the world obeys the man who rules himself. Understand this: insults, betrayals, and misfortune will come. They come for every man, no matter how noble or innocent. But the difference between the weak and the strong is how deeply these arrows strike. A weak man allows a single word to shatter his peace. He loses his temper, he grows restless, he seeks validation to soothe the wound. A strong man remains unshaken, for his fortress is built of stone. He does not allow enemies, or even friends, to trespass into his inner court. If you cannot control your response, you are enslaved by others. If you cannot discipline your thoughts, you are a prisoner of chaos. So ask yourself, what is the state of your fortress? Can a careless insult burn you? Can a sudden loss throw you into despair? If the answer is yes, then you are not yet strong. The foundation of strength is control over the self. And this leads us to the second principle: control your desires, or they will control you. Men deceive themselves into believing that they are free when in reality, they are chained to appetite. Appetite for pleasure, for comfort, for indulgence. They call it freedom when they drink until they lose their senses. They call it joy when they waste hours in distraction. But look closer, this is not freedom, it is slavery. For the man who cannot deny himself is ruled by weakness. He does not choose, he obeys. His cravings pull the strings, and he dances like a puppet. Machiavelli understood that fortune favors not the indulgent, but the disciplined. Fortune respects the man who can delay gratification, who can endure discomfort, who can direct his energy with purpose. The strongest man is not the one who eats until he is full, but the one who knows when to stop. The strongest is not the one who seeks endless pleasures, but the one who denies them when necessary, for he keeps control of himself while others lose it. If you wish to rule others, you must first prove you can rule your own impulses. Without this, you are unfit for power. Think of the rulers of history. The great conquerors, the feared kings, the cunning princes. What separated them from the masses was not merely armies, gold, or luck, but an iron grip over their own will. Caesar could withstand endless marches without despair. Alexander mastered his fears before mastering empires. They achieved greatness because they did not bend to fatigue, indulgence, or distraction. They bent these forces to their own command. Weak men may stumble into small victories, but only those who master themselves can build legacies that outlast them. Yet the modern man has grown fragile. He expects comfort at every turn. He demands the world bend to his moods, and when it does not, he breaks. He has become addicted to convenience, enslaved by distraction, intoxicated by the illusion that life owes him ease. But strength is never built in comfort. It is built in the moments where you deny yourself the easy path. It is forged in the fire of self-restraint. Every time you silence an impulse, you sharpen your blade. Every time you choose discipline over indulgence, you build another wall in your fortress. And soon, your mind becomes impenetrable. Ask yourself now, as you listen, who commands you? Is it you, or is it your desire for pleasure, recognition, or distraction? Do you rise when your mind tells you to, or when comfort allows it? Do you work when it is required, or only when you feel like it? The truth is merciless. The strongest version of yourself cannot emerge while you are enslaved to impulse. The man who cannot master his cravings cannot master his destiny. You must treat your desires as subjects, not rulers. Let them serve you when useful, but crush them when they oppose your command. So build your fortress. Train your mind to remain unmoved by insult, betrayal, or loss. Strengthen your will so no hunger, no craving, no indulgence can enslave you. The world respects only those who cannot be easily shaken, those who control themselves with iron discipline. Become that man, and you will have taken the first step toward the strength that commands fear, respect, and lasting power. If you wish to become the strongest version of yourself, understand this: it is not love that will secure your place in this world, but respect. Love is sweet but fragile. Respect is bitter but enduring. A man who seeks only to be loved will be betrayed when affection fades. But the man who commands respect remains powerful even in the absence of love. People may not always like you, but they will not dare to cross you when they respect you. And if you are to grow into true strength, you must abandon the desperate need for approval that enslaves most men. Observe the weak. They bend themselves into pleasing shapes, always smiling, always agreeable, always desperate to be liked. And what becomes of them? They are overlooked, ignored, and disrespected. Their willingness to please makes them invisible, for what is abundant is never valued. But respect is rare and therefore priceless. You cannot beg for it. You cannot buy it. You must command it, and you command it by demonstrating strength, not weakness. When people know you can stand alone, when they see that you do not fear their rejection, they give you the only gift worth having, their respect. Machiavelli himself warned that love is unreliable. It is fickle, easily taken away, corrupted by changing moods and shifting loyalties. Respect, however, binds deeper. It holds men even when they are tempted to betray. For respect carries with it a shadow of fear. Not fear of violence alone, but fear of disappointment, fear of crossing a man whose strength they cannot diminish. Ask yourself, would you rather be adored briefly or respected eternally? The strongest version of yourself must always choose the latter. But respect is not earned merely through inner strength. It must be projected outward. For men do not peer into your soul to judge you. They look with their eyes. They decide who you are by what you appear to be. If you appear weak, if you appear uncertain, if you appear submissive, then no matter what strength lies within, it will remain unseen and unacknowledged. Power, like theater, requires performance. You must project the image of authority, even in moments of doubt. You must learn to appear unshakable, even when storms rage within you. Men are simple in their judgment. They cannot read thoughts, they can only read faces, gestures, tones, and presence. If you stand upright, if you speak with certainty, if your eyes do not falter, they will assume strength. If you show hesitation, insecurity, or fear, they will assume weakness, even if the truth is otherwise. And once they believe you weak, regaining their respect becomes almost impossible. You must never allow the world to see your doubts. Let your uncertainty remain hidden in the fortress of your mind. To the world, show only confidence, for appearance is power. Consider the rulers of history. Many were not as powerful as they appeared. Kings who held shaky thrones projected images of divine authority to mask their fragility. Generals who feared defeat gave speeches that ignited soldiers with courage. Leaders survive not by showing their weaknesses, but by cloaking them in the armor of confidence. The strongest version of yourself must learn this same art. When others see you, they should not see hesitation, but certainty. They should not see fear, but resolve. Even when you feel the weight of doubt within, you must wear strength upon your face, for men are guided more by sight than by truth. This is not deception in the foolish sense, but strategy in the wise sense. If you reveal every doubt, if you confess every weakness, others will not carry you. They will exploit you. To project power is not to lie, but to protect yourself. You may feel uncertain, but why should your enemies know this? You may feel unprepared, but why should your rivals see it? Let them believe you are stronger than you are, for belief itself shapes behavior. If they think you cannot be broken, they will not attempt to break you. If they think you are resolute, they will tread carefully. This illusion often becomes reality, for men behave differently toward those they believe strong. Do not misunderstand. True respect cannot be faked forever. If your foundation is hollow, your facade will eventually collapse. But when combined with discipline and inner strength, the projection of power becomes unstoppable. The fortress within must be built first, but the walls must also be visible to the world. You cannot command respect if the world sees only hesitation. The masses are guided by appearances, and you must learn to master appearances. Stand taller than you feel, speak firmer than you believe, look braver than you are. In time, you will not only appear powerful, you will become powerful. When you enter a room, let your presence announce itself before you speak. When you make decisions, act decisively, even if doubts linger in your mind. When others test your boundaries, show them they cannot be crossed without consequence. Respect is commanded not with words, but with posture, presence, and action. And those who command respect command the loyalty and obedience of others, whether they are loved or not. For love fades with time, but respect, once secured, builds an authority that endures. If you truly wish to become the strongest version of yourself, you must first destroy the weakest parts of yourself. Do not misunderstand me. This is not gentle self-care, this is war. Improvement, if it is to make you powerful, cannot be soft or indulgent. It must be ruthless. It must be merciless. Every flaw you tolerate in yourself today is a weapon your enemies will use against you tomorrow. To leave weakness untouched is to invite defeat. The man who wishes to rule himself must become his own executioner, cutting away everything that keeps him fragile. Weak men excuse their faults. They say, "I am simply made this way." They blame their parents, their circumstances, their bad luck. But excuses do not change reality. Reality respects only results, and results come only to those who correct themselves without pity. If you are lazy, destroy your laziness. If you are cowardly, confront fear until it flees. If you lack discipline, force yourself into order until it becomes your nature. To tolerate these weaknesses is to accept chains around your neck, and a chained man cannot command respect, nor power, nor destiny. Self-improvement, in the Machiavellian sense, is not about comfort or pleasure. It is about sharpening yourself into a weapon. And weapons are not forged in ease. They are beaten, heated, and reshaped until they are unbreakable. You must subject yourself to the same process. Do not merely polish your strengths, for that is what the weak do. They display their talents and hide their flaws, hoping no one will notice. But the strong face their flaws head on and crush them without hesitation. The world does not reward half-formed men. It rewards those who are complete, unyielding, and dangerous in every sense. And to become complete, you must treat knowledge not as a pastime, but as a weapon. The masses learn for amusement. They consume words, stories, ideas, yet apply none of them. They read as if knowledge were entertainment, not power. But you must not make this mistake. Every piece of knowledge you gain must serve a purpose. If it cannot make you sharper, stronger, or more effective, it is a distraction. When Machiavelli studied history, he did not do so for pleasure. He studied to understand the forces that move men, the strategies that win wars, the errors that destroy rulers. Knowledge was not decoration, it was ammunition. The strongest version of yourself must learn constantly, but also strategically. Study what gives you advantage. Learn the weaknesses of your enemies. Learn the nature of men so you can predict their moves before they make them. Learn how power shifts, how alliances are built, how betrayal festers. Do not waste your mind on what entertains. Fill it with what equips. Your knowledge must become a blade in your hand, ready to cut through obstacles and carve your place in the world. Yet beware. Knowledge without action is the illusion of improvement. The world is full of men who read endlessly, who speak endlessly, who dream endlessly, yet achieve nothing. They mistake accumulation for transformation. But information that is not applied is dead weight. You must turn every lesson into practice, every idea into execution. A man who learns 10 truths and applies one will always be weaker than a man who learns 3 truths and applies all 3. Ruthless self-improvement demands that you measure yourself not by what you know, but by what you do with what you know. This requires a brutal honesty that few can endure. For to improve ruthlessly, you must admit your failures without excuse. You must confront your cowardice without denial. You must dissect yourself like a surgeon, exposing every weakness without flinching. Most men cannot do this. They cling to illusions of greatness while ignoring the rot beneath. But illusions collapse in the face of reality. The man who hides from his flaws will be exposed at the moment he needs strength most. Better to suffer the pain of self-confrontation now than the humiliation of defeat later. Improvement also demands that you embrace discomfort. Growth does not come where you feel safe. It comes where you are stretched, tested, and nearly broken. The strongest men in history did not rise through luxury. They rose through trials. Alexander marched across deserts with little food. Hannibal crossed mountains with impossible odds. Caesar endured betrayal and war. They did not curse their hardships, they used them. Each trial was a forge. Each pain was a chisel. Each struggle was a step toward greatness. If you wish to be strong, stop fleeing hardship and begin seeking it. For only in the fire can iron be shaped into steel. Ruthless self-improvement also means sacrificing what does not serve you. This is perhaps the hardest principle, for it requires cutting away not just habits, but sometimes people, comforts, and dreams. You must ask, does this make me stronger, or does this make me weaker? If it weakens you, remove it, no matter how much pleasure it brings, no matter how much comfort it offers. Strength cannot grow in soil poisoned by weakness. You must create an environment where only growth survives, and this requires discipline, sacrifice, and the courage to walk alone if necessary. So remember this, you are both the ruler and the ruled. You are both the sculptor and the stone. If you fail to shape yourself, the world will shape you instead, and the world shapes men into mediocrity. To become the strongest version of yourself, you must take the hammer into your own hand. Break the weakness, carve the strength, sharpen the mind, and turn knowledge into power. Do not wait for permission. Do not wait for comfort. Improvement must be ruthless, or it is nothing at all. No man rises to power alone, yet no man becomes truly strong by clinging to the wrong company. This is the paradox of strength. You must choose allies carefully. But you must also learn to stand alone when necessity demands it. The masses believe strength lies in numbers, that the more friends you have, the safer you are. But history proves otherwise. An army of weak men is still weak. A circle of foolish allies will lead you into traps you would never have entered alone. The strongest version of yourself must master the art of alliances, while also knowing when solitude is the only path to survival. Think of allies as weapons. A dull blade does not protect you, it endangers you. It breaks when you need it most, leaving you defenseless. In the same way, a weak ally burdens you with his cowardice, his indecision, his envy. He drains your energy, distracts you with his failures, and betrays you when the cost of loyalty grows heavy. A strong ally, however, is like a sharpened sword. He makes you more dangerous. He stands firm when the storm rages. He adds strength to your strength. To become powerful, you must surround yourself with those who sharpen you, not those who blunt you. But how do you choose such allies? You do not look at their words, for words are cheap. You do not look at their smiles, for smiles are masks. You look at their actions, their endurance, their discipline. Does this man falter in hardship, or does he endure? Does he serve his own ambition blindly, or does he understand loyalty and strategy? Does he envy your rise, or does he strengthen it? The answers to these questions decide whether he is a weapon in your hand or a dagger in your back. A single false ally is more dangerous than 100 open enemies, for the enemy attacks from the front, but the false ally strikes when you are unguarded. Machiavelli observed this truth in the courts of princes. Many rulers were not destroyed by their enemies, but by their closest companions. Betrayal most often comes not from the outside, but from within. That is why you must never mistake companionship for loyalty or friendship for strength. Too many men cling to allies out of sentiment, thinking, "He has always been by my side, so I owe him my trust." But strength is not built on sentiment. It is built on utility, strategy, and survival. If an ally no longer serves your rise, you must not hesitate to distance yourself. Loyalty without strength is a chain, not an asset. Yet, while strong alliances elevate you, there are times when you must stand alone. Independence terrifies the weak, but it empowers the strong. To need no one is the ultimate display of power. When men see that you are willing to walk alone, rather than tie yourself to weakness, they fear you. They know you cannot be manipulated with threats of abandonment. They know you cannot be bribed with empty promises of companionship. Independence is the fortress that protects you when alliances fail. You must cultivate the ability to walk without support, so that when support is withdrawn, you remain unbroken. Do not misunderstand. Solitude is not permanent, nor is it always desirable. Alliances, when chosen wisely, multiply your reach and amplify your power. But solitude must always remain an option, a weapon you can wield when allies turn false. The man who cannot endure isolation is always at the mercy of others. He makes compromises not because they are wise, but because he fears being alone. And compromise born of fear is the death of strength. If you cannot sit in silence without needing company, if you cannot endure isolation without begging for comfort, then you are not yet strong. For the strongest man uses others when it benefits him, but never needs them to survive. History again teaches this. The greatest leaders built alliances, yes, but they also knew when to sever them. Caesar allied with Pompey until Pompey became a rival. Alexander accepted generals by his side, but when they grew too ambitious, he struck them down. The prince who ties himself permanently to allies becomes a prisoner of them. The ruler who keeps allies only as long as they serve his rise becomes untouchable. This is the Machiavellian principle: use alliances, but never depend on them. And remember, strength attracts strength. If you are weak, you will only gather the weak around you. But as you grow in discipline, in presence, in power, you will find stronger allies drawn to you. Do not rush to gather numbers. Build yourself first, then let the right weapons come to your side. 2 strong allies are worth more than 20 weak ones. A single strategist at your table is more valuable than 100 flatterers at your feet. Quality of alliances always outweighs quantity. The masses collect companions like trinkets. The strong collect them like treasures, rare and carefully chosen. So learn to test those who seek closeness. Do not give trust freely. Place men in situations where their true nature is revealed. Watch how they react under pressure. Observe whether they envy your strength or respect it. See if their loyalty remains when loyalty costs them something. It is in these moments you discover who is truly an ally and who is a parasite. And when the time comes to cut away the parasites, do so without hesitation. For hesitation in dealing with weakness is an invitation for disaster. The path to becoming the strongest version of yourself requires both alliances and isolation. You must master both. Know how to build bonds that make you more formidable, but also how to sever them when they threaten your ascent. Know how to walk with others when it serves you, but also how to walk alone when it protects you. For the man who cannot balance these forces will always fall prey to one of two traps: dependence on allies or arrogance in solitude. The strong avoid both. The strong choose wisely, cut mercilessly, and endure isolation without fear. If you wish to grow into the strongest version of yourself, you must understand two forces that govern the rise and fall of all men: time and hardship. Time is the most powerful ally and the most merciless enemy. It rewards the patient but destroys the impulsive. And hardship is the only teacher that speaks the truth, the trial that strips away illusions and reveals whether a man is worthy of strength. Master these two, and you will rise above the countless men who waste their days and crumble under suffering. The weak live as if time is infinite. They squander their mornings in idleness, their evenings in distractions, their years in meaningless pursuits. They act as though tomorrow is promised, as though they will always have more chances to improve, more time to conquer, more moments to seize. But time is not a servant waiting for their command. Time is a tyrant that moves forward without pause. Every moment lost is gone forever, and those who fail to respect time are enslaved by it. A man who delays action waits for fortune to favor him, but fortune favors only those who strike at the right hour. And that hour is almost never tomorrow, it is now. But patience must not be mistaken for delay. Patience is strategic. It is the art of waiting, not because you are idle, but because you are preparing. A hunter waits in silence not because he is weak, but because he knows his prey will eventually step into range. The patient man does not waste time, he bends it to his will. He knows when to remain still and when to strike. This is the secret of timing, not constant motion nor endless waiting, but disciplined readiness. When the opportunity arrives, he does not hesitate. While others are surprised, he is prepared. While others doubt, he acts. Fortune belongs to the man who respects time enough to prepare and who seizes it without hesitation when the moment arrives. Consider the generals of history. Victory did not come to those who rushed blindly into battle, nor to those who hid endlessly behind walls. Victory came to those who marched at the right hour, who struck when the enemy was weakest, who retreated when retreat was wise, and advanced when the opportunity was ripe. So too in life, if you are to be strong, you must learn the rhythm of time. You must see when the moment demands patience and when it demands action. Misjudge this rhythm, and you will either arrive too early and fail, or too late and be forgotten. Yet even if you master time, you cannot escape hardship. For life does not grant strength without pain. Men flee from discomfort as if it were poison, yet it is the very medicine they need. Hardship is not the enemy. It is the forge. Every trial, every loss, every betrayal is an opportunity to grow stronger. But most men waste these opportunities. They curse their suffering. They wallow in self-pity. They break at the first sign of resistance. They see hardship as misfortune, when in truth it is training. The man who embraces hardship bends it to his advantage. He learns from failure, he endures pain. He builds resilience until nothing can shatter him. Machiavelli knew that fortune tests those it seeks to raise. Before it crowns a man, it wounds him. Before it grants him power, it strips him bare. This is not cruelty, but necessity. Only through hardship does fortune discover whether a man is worthy of greatness. A man who collapses under small difficulties cannot be trusted with great power. A man who curses his misfortunes is not yet ready for the throne. Strength is proven not in times of ease, but in times of struggle. Therefore, you must not run from hardship. You must not beg for ease. You must welcome adversity as the furnace that will refine you into steel. The truth is harsh. Every great man has suffered more than the masses can imagine. Caesar faced betrayal from his closest allies. Machiavelli himself was cast into prison and exile. Leaders throughout history endured hunger, loss, and humiliation. And yet, they did not break, they endured. And through endurance, they became unshakable. Hardship was not their downfall. It was their foundation. What destroys the weak builds the strong, because the strong know how to use it. Every pain becomes discipline. Every setback becomes wisdom. Every defeat becomes preparation for a greater victory. So the question is not whether you will face hardship, but how you will face it. Will you curse it, or will you use it? Will you let it crush you, or will you let it forge you? The strongest version of yourself cannot be built in comfort. Comfort softens the will, dulls the mind, weakens the spirit. Hardship sharpens all three. It strips away illusions and forces you to confront reality. It teaches you what you are truly made of. A man who has never suffered is a man untested, unready, fragile. But a man who has endured hardship and risen above it is unstoppable, because nothing the world throws at him can break him again. Therefore, to master time is to respect its power, to prepare with patience and act with precision. And to master hardship is to endure it without complaint, to turn it into a weapon, to let it make you stronger rather than weaker. These two forces, time and hardship, govern the rise of all men. The weak are destroyed by them. The ordinary are ruled by them. But the strong bend them to their will, using patience and endurance to rise above the rest. Every man will one day face the same truth. His body will wither, his voice will fade, and his time will end. But not every man leaves behind something that outlives him. This is the question of legacy. What remains when you are gone? Will the world remember your name, or will it vanish like smoke, forgotten with the passing of days? Machiavelli understood that the pursuit of legacy is what separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. It is not wealth alone, nor power alone, that carves your place in history. It is will, the ruthless will that refuses to bend, refuses to die, refuses to be erased. Most men live only for the present. They chase pleasures, they pursue comfort, they desire approval. And in doing so, they build nothing that lasts. Their names fade as quickly as their shadows, their actions forgotten the moment they are buried. But the great ones, the ruthless ones, live not merely for themselves. They live with the awareness that every act, every word, every decision either builds their legacy or erases it. They understand that life is short, but legacy is eternal, and they act accordingly. When a man begins to think not only of his life, but of the echo of his life, he begins to operate at a level beyond the masses. Legacy demands will, and not just any will, but ruthless will. The kind of will that does not surrender when opposed, that does not soften when comfort tempts, that does not retreat when danger rises. Weak wills build fragile legacies. They write words that no one reads. They create works that no one values. They lead with fear of offending, and so they vanish. But the ruthless will, the will that is willing to sacrifice, to endure, to impose itself on the world, leaves behind monuments that even time struggles to destroy. Caesar, Alexander, Napoleon, these names survive not because they were gentle, but because their will was merciless. They carved their names into the memory of the world with iron, not with silk. Understand this: the world resists greatness. It resists ambition. It resists men who want more than safety and comfort. And so, to build a legacy, you must fight against everything. The opinions of others, the resistance of fortune, the decay of time itself. This is why will must be ruthless. If it is soft, it bends. If it bends, it breaks. If it breaks, you are forgotten. Legacy is not gifted. It is taken, and it is taken only by those whose will is stronger than the obstacles they face. When a man with ruthless will sets his eyes on his legacy, he becomes like stone, unmoving, unyielding, unbreakable. But do not mistake ruthlessness for cruelty alone. Cruelty without purpose dies in the shadows. Ruthless will is not about destruction for its own sake. It is about determination that nothing can corrupt. It is the refusal to be small. It is the refusal to live and die unnoticed. It is the constant voice in your mind that says, "I will not be erased." This is why legacy belongs only to the few, for most cannot endure the weight. They grow weary, they compromise, they settle for less. Their names sink into obscurity. But those with ruthless will press forward, even when fortune strikes against them, even when the world stands opposed. They push until the world bends, until their legacy is carved into stone. Machiavelli himself lived this truth. He suffered betrayal, imprisonment, exile. He was cast aside by the very rulers he served. Yet, through ruthless will, he refused to vanish. He wrote words that shook the foundations of politics, ideas that outlived kings and empires. He was denied power in life, yet his name commands power in death. This is legacy. To live in such a way that even your enemies, even those who sought to silence you, cannot erase you. To live in such a way that centuries after your death, men still speak your name, still fear your ideas, still learn from your example. Ask yourself, what are you building that will outlast you? Will your children speak of you with pride or with silence? Will your name be carried forward, or will it disappear the moment you do? Every decision you make builds or destroys your legacy. Every act of weakness erodes it. Every act of strength fortifies it. And legacy requires more than dreams. It requires ruthless will. For the world will not remember what you wish to do. It will remember only what you forced into existence. Dreams die in silence. Will lives forever in action. The path to legacy is not soft. It is not smooth. It is paved with sacrifice, with sleepless nights, with choices that others will not understand. The man who pursues legacy will be called arrogant, ruthless, even cruel. But he does not care, for he knows that comfort ends with death, but legacy endures beyond it. The whispers of critics will vanish, but the echo of his name will remain. And this is why ruthless will is not just necessary, it is the only way. For without it, you will give in to fear, you will surrender to doubt, you will be buried and forgotten among the millions who lived and died without leaving a trace. So if you desire to become the strongest version of yourself, you must look beyond your own life. You must ask what your existence will mean once you are gone. And then you must build with ruthless will, unshaken by opposition, unbroken by failure, unyielding until your mark is made. For legacy is not given. It is earned through the kind of will that refuses to be denied. Conclusion: you have now walked through 12 timeless principles, distilled from the wisdom of Machiavelli, sharpened by the fires of history, and aimed at one single goal: to make you the strongest version of yourself. Strength is not inherited, nor is it granted. It is forged through discipline of the mind, mastery of the self, control of appearances, the building of alliances, the cultivation of influence, and the relentless pursuit of legacy. The weak man waits for the world to favor him. The strong man bends the world to his will. The weak man lives only for his comfort. The strong man sacrifices comfort for power, respect, and permanence. And when the final breath comes, the weak man disappears into silence while the strong man lives on, immortal in name and in memory. Remember this: you are not here to be ordinary. You are not here to be liked, to be soft, or to be forgotten. You are here to rule yourself so completely that no insult can shatter you, no betrayal can break you, no obstacle can stop you. You are here to become untouchable, unshaken, unyielding. For in this life, you will either be ruled or you will rule. You will either be forgotten or you will be remembered. The choice, as Machiavelli would remind you, belongs not to fortune, not to destiny, but to you, and to the strength of your will.